This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What if comparing car insurance rates was as easy as putting on your favorite podcast? With Progressive, it is. Just visit the Progressive website to quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's direct rate, then their tool will provide options from other companies so you can compare. All you need to do is choose the rate and coverage you like. Quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
I just love that song. And I wish I could have played it longer, but I didn't want, to have it play too long and then have people skip through or something, even though I feel like it's such a good song that people would listen no matter how long I played it. Also, I just have to tell you that people were not happy about the moon last week. They were angry. So not a lot of people. Some people were angry that I even brought it up. They were like, oh, I bet you're a flat earther too. And I had to lie and tell them I wasn't. Just kidding. I cracked myself up. But anyway, I guess I'll start with my real quick question. I like starting off with a question because, I don't know, maybe it'll get you thinking. Anyway, so here's my question. How does the math teacher from Brooklyn end up with a private island, a private jet, and a contact list that reads like a who's who of world domination? Dude went from teaching algebra to running $1 billion mystery business that no one can explain. If that's not suspicious, I don't know what is. Welcome back to Don't Quote Me It's Probably Nothing, the podcast where I ask the questions your aunt's Facebook posts wish they could answer. I'm Kelly, and I'm high. A lot. Very much so. But anyway, grab your coffee, your emotional support snack. Today I have Raisinets from the farmer's market. And let's dive straight into the absolute fever dream that is Jeffrey Epstein. Also, you know what I was just thinking about my Raisinets from the farmer's market? Did I say Raisinets or chocolate covered raisins? I'll find out when I play this back, I guess. But I was wondering at the candy shop at the farmer's market if they just go to CVS or something and buy all of the Raisinets when they're $1 a box and then just empty them into a bag and then charge $10 a pound for them. Because I paid a pretty penny for a pound of Raisinets. They are good though. So now that I said that, I actually kind of feel bad. If there's any Amish listening to this, I hope I don't hurt their feelings or insult them by thinking that they didn't make their own Raisinets. So I take that back. Also, their pickled beets and pepper shooters are delicious. Anyway, let's talk Jeffrey Epstein. Let's start at the beginning. Because to understand how Jeffrey Epstein became Jeffrey Epstein, we got to rewind way before the mansions, before the mysterious island, and before the FBI raids that broke the internet. So Jeffrey Edward Epstein was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1953 to a middle-class family. His dad worked in the city, his mom was a school aide, and Jeffrey was smart and the kind of kid who'd finish your math test while you were still writing your name at the top. He went to Lafayette High School, skipped a few grades, and enrolled in Cooper Union and then New York University. But he never graduated. He ended up dropping out, so he had no degree, no fancy finance background, just raw confidence and probably a dash of sociopathy. But I get the raw confidence. Now, somehow this college dropout lands a job teaching math and physics at the Dalton School, a super elite private prep school in Manhattan. The kind of school where, the tuition costs more than my car, and the alumni probably owns small countries. But here's where the plot thickens. So Epstein wasn't qualified to teach there, at all. And guess who was the headmaster at the time? Donald Barr. Yes, that Barr. The father of future Attorney General William Barr, the same William Barr who would later oversee parts of Epstein's 2019 case and the investigation into his death. So we're already off to a weirdly circular start. Anyway, while he's teaching at Dalton, Epstein meets the father of one of his students, a powerful executive at Bear Stearns, one of the biggest investment banks at the time. So the guy's impressed, and boom, Jeffrey gets a job on Wall Street, because apparently in the 1970s, math teacher with no degree was a valid qualification for managing people's millions. So he starts off as a junior assistant trader, but Epstein had a knack for numbers and, even more importantly, for manipulation. So he could charm anyone, talk his way into any room, room and make you believe he knew something you didn't, which honestly is like 90% of Wall Street anyway. So within a few years, he's making bank, literally and figuratively. He becomes a limited partner at Bear Stearns, starts rubbing shoulders with big names, and gets a reputation as this financial genius. But in 1981, something happens, and Bear Stearns says goodbye to Epstein after what they called a policy violation, which translates to he did something shady and they didn't want to talk about it. And from that moment on, Jeffrey starts doing his own thing. He launches his own firm, J. Epstein and Co. CO. I don't know why I left at that. But he tells people he manages the finances of billionaires. And his pitch is that he only takes clients worth over $1 billion. Now, like, that sounds impressive until you realize that no one, not journalists, not investigators, not even people in finance, can name a single one of those supposed billionaires. There's no client list, no records, not even, like, no one even knows what his company actually did. He didn't have a logo, didn't have an office front. It was basically a ghost company with fancy stationery. But somehow, money is rolling in. Mansions start appearing, jets, private chefs, entire staff members on call 24/7. It's like he used the fake it till you make it mindset, except he never stopped faking it. And I need to fake it till I make it till I literally live in Disney. But anyway, he starts cozying up to scientists, politicians, and world leaders, throwing dinner parties where the guest list looks like the cast of a dystopian movie. He builds a reputation for being mysterious, brilliant, and disgustingly rich. And no one asks too many questions because money makes people blind and stupid. And that's really how it all starts. A high school teacher turned financial fixer surrounded by people too wealthy and too comfortable to care about where his money came from. But here's the thing. The same charm that made Epstein rich is the same thing that allowed him to hide the horrifying truth about what he was doing behind closed doors. So let's set the scene. It's Palm Beach, Florida in 2005, where everyone looks rich, suspiciously tan, and allergic to accountability. So police get a call from a woman saying her 14-year-old daughter was paid to give a massage at Jeffrey Epstein's house. And things got, well, not massagey. And listen, when the Palm Beach Police Department gets involved, you know something's bad. So they dig in, they interview witnesses, and before long, they're not dealing with one random tip. They're staring down like dozens of nearly identical stories. Girls between 14 and 17 saying the same thing. They were recruited by another girl to give massages to Epstein. Yes, I used air quotes. Got paid a few $100 and told to bring friends next time. Now, if your skin isn't crawling yet, hold on to your epidermis. Because Epstein's massage setup, also in air quotes, wasn't subtle. His Palm Beach mansion had an actual massage room stocked with oils, lotions, and sex toys. That actually felt spicy on my tongue. So, like, I can't even get my DoorDash order right, and this man had an entire organized criminal structure.
Hear that? That's your gut. Now, would you really trust that same gut to make important decisions for your business? Well, you shouldn't. That's what SurveyMonkey is for. SurveyMonkey can help give you insight from real people that you need to make those big decisions with confidence. And AI from SurveyMonkey makes that faster and easier than ever before. It allows you to build a survey in seconds with just a simple prompt. You can even do it right from your phone. Advanced analysis tools are also powered by AI and are there when the responses pour in to help you dig deep, find patterns, and surface trends quickly. So give SurveyMonkey a try and give your gut a break. Shh. Try it for yourself at surveymonkey.com/human-AI.
His guest room. So Palm Beach Police Department builds their case, right? So they go undercover, they gather evidence, they get statements from 5 victims and 17 witnesses. The police chief, Michael Rader, personally hand delivers the file to the state attorney's office. I'm sorry for my voice, by the way. I can feel it, like I'm really breathy. I hate when I get breathy when I talk. I'll try to edit it out though. But enter State Attorney Barry Krischer. I think I said that right. Krischer reviews the evidence and basically goes, let's offer him a misdemeanor. Yeah. A misdemeanor for serial child sexual abuse is fucking wild. But anyway, Rader was furious. This dude literally wrote letters begging the feds to step in. So the FBI opens the case, calling it Operation Leap Year, which, first of all, terrible name for a child trafficking investigation. Like, who even approved that? Anyway, the FBI starts interviewing more victims. It's not dozens anymore, it's dozens and dozens. And they start finding evidence across state lines, which just means one thing, federal jurisdiction. And this is where things could have gone like nuclear. But instead, it literally all fizzled out because in 2007, a non-prosecution agreement gets quietly negotiated. And if you never heard of one of those, it's basically a magic trick where someone commits federal crimes, the U.S. Attorney's Office says, you're good, and everyone involved pretends it's normal. So Epstein's attorney team, which included actual legal powerhouses like Alan Dershowitz and Kenneth Starr, pulled strings like, you know, the things with the puppet things, the marionettes. That's what they did. Okay. So they got a deal saying Epstein would plead guilty only to 2 state-level charges, solicitation and procuring a minor for prostitution, and serve 13 months in county jail. But wait, it gets worse. This deal also gave immunity to potential co-conspirators, meaning anyone who helped him, including Ghislaine Maxwell and others, was magically protected. It also said the victims couldn't even know about the deal until it was signed, that's wild to me. So 13 months in jail, but even that's misleading because Epstein was granted work release, which meant he left jail 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. He literally went to his office every day in a chauffeur-driven car. He even had private security guarding him at his own expense. It's like Airbnb. Prison edition. So Palm Beach detectives described it as like a country club sentence. The local paper called it justice for sale. And honestly, same, because what the fuck? So fast forward a bit, and Epstein serves his sentence, registers as a sex offender, and goes right back to doing rich guy things. Throwing parties, flying people to his island, donating to universities, networking with scientists, and just like existing. And this entire time, the victims were still speaking up, still trying to be heard, but nobody listened because this man had a Rolodex that could move mountains. And that's the part that really gets me. It wasn't that people didn't know, it's that too many people did and literally did not care. It took over a decade for that sweetheart deal to come back to like haunt everyone involved. Because when the Miami Herald dropped their 2018 series called Perversion of Justice, it reignited everything. So they laid out exactly how Epstein's power, money, and political connections let him slip through the system. And that's when people started asking the questions out loud that like everyone had been thinking, like who's protecting him and why? And spoiler alert, that's hard to say when you're really high. But that question only gets louder from here. The question of like who is protecting him and why, in case you forgot, like I just did. So next, on July 6th, 2019, federal agents arrest Jeffrey Epstein at Teterboro Airport, which I probably pronounced wrong, in New Jersey after he steps off his private jet. And the charge is sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking. And for once, it feels like the walls are finally closing in. The indictment from the Southern District of New York is brutal and specific. It outlines a network of abuse spanning from like 2002 to 2005 in both New York and Florida. It says that Epstein created a system to recruit and exploit girls as young as 14, paying them for massages that are in air quotes that always escalated, and paying them to like recruit more girls, like a pyramid scheme of human suffering. I don't want to laugh at that, but like this whole freaking thing is just wild. So the FBI raids his $77 million Manhattan mansion that same day, and the things that they find: stacks of cash, diamonds, a fake passport listing Saudi Arabia as his residence, because apparently if you're going to traffic humans, you might as well throw in a fake identity and some international flair. But the real nightmare is that they also found hundreds, and I mean hundreds, of photographs of underage girls. Some framed, some in like locked safes, some on CDs literally labeled with names. And here's where it gets even creepier. So the house itself was wired with hidden cameras everywhere. Bedrooms, bathrooms, hallways, like the world's worst episode of Big Brother. So yeah, the feds basically walked into a crime museum curated by evil. When the news breaks, it's everywhere. The internet collectively screams, and celebrities are deleting photos. Politicians are pretending they don't remember him, and reporters are camping outside his mansion. And the meme economy? Thriving. Because nothing fuels the internet like elite scandal and government incompetence. Now, remember the old 2008 deal, the one that protected all of his co-conspirators? The new indictment completely ignored it. SDNY prosecutors were like, cute deal you had there in Florida, mister, but that doesn't apply here. So Epstein's in jail. His attorneys beg for bail, offering a like a literal private jet, $100 million bond, an ankle monitor, and even a personal security detail paid for by him. The judge's response was absolutely not, because as prosecutors pointed out, he was the definition of a flight risk. He had like multiple passports, he owned multiple homes, and more money than some small nation. If he wanted to vanish, he could have done it like before lunch. And so he sits in the Metropolitan Correctional Center, or MCC, in Manhattan while he is awaiting trial. And MCC makes Rikers look like a spa. It's overcrowded, underfunded, and apparently managed by the same people who forget to water their plants until they die, which would be me. So once Epstein's arrested, more victims start coming forward, dozens more, and he's suddenly facing like real accountability, real public attention, and for the first time in his disgusting life, he can't buy, charm, or threaten his way out. And you know what's wild? This time, the system actually looked like it might work. Like you could feel the shift. Like everyone was finally ready to face like how deep the rot went. But the Epstein story isn't one that ends neatly, because just when it seemed like he was finally going to have his day in court, just when the victims were preparing to testify, he was found dead in his cell. And that, my friends, is where the real chaos begins. So it's August 10th, 2019, and Jeffrey Epstein, he's sitting in his cell at MCC, and he's in the special housing unit, also known as the SHU, which is where high-profile inmates go when they're too dangerous, too famous, or too hated to be with everyone else. And then, just like that, he's dead, and I used air quotes. So at 6:30 a.m., guards find him hanging in his cell with a sheet tied to the top bunk. They call it in, perform CPR, rush him to the hospital, and at 7:36 a.m., he is officially pronounced dead. Now, that alone would be suspicious enough, right? Like a man with dirt on billionaires, politicians, royalty, and CEOs just happens to die. But the way it happened, it's like a conspiracy theory starter pack, okay? So let's lay out the facts, because the facts are weird all by themselves. Number one, Epstein had already been found injured and semi-conscious in his cell 2 weeks earlier on July 23rd. He claimed he was attacked by a cellmate, a former cop facing 4 murder charges. The guard said it looked like a possible suicide attempt. So they put him on suicide watch, where he'd be monitored 24/7, lights always on, no bed sheets, no privacy. But within 6 days, they took him off suicide watch, because apparently he seemed fine. Number 2, on the night of his death, 2 guards were supposed to check on him every 30 minutes. They didn't. Instead, they reportedly slept for several hours, falsified their logs, and later admitted it. Both were charged with record falsification, but never served time after cooperating with investigators. Number 3, the 2 cameras monitoring Epstein's cell malfunctioned at the same time. One broke, the backup glitched, and the hallway camera outside his cell was unusable. In air quotes. Yeah, sure. And then number 4, when the autopsy came back, the official cause of death was ruled suicide by hanging. But the autopsy raised eyebrows specifically about his hyoid bone, which is a small U-shaped bone in your neck. It was fractured. Now, that can happen in suicide by hanging, yes. But it's far more common in manual strangulation. Dr. Michael Baden, a forensic pathologist hired by Epstein's brother, publicly claimed the injuries were more consistent with homicide. Meanwhile, New York City's chief medical examiner, Dr. Barbara Sampson, stood firm that it was a suicide. So now we have 2 experts looking at the same body saying 2 completely different things, and America's like, you know what? I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. But seriously, this case broke the internet. Like, the moment it happened, everyone from Twitter to Reddit to your aunt's Facebook page became a forensic analyst. Memes were everywhere, conspiracies were everywhere, and now the now immortal phrase, Epstein didn't kill himself. It became the battle cry of a generation who no longer trust anything the government says, which honestly, fair. Because the official story reads like bad fan fiction. He was taken off suicide watch too soon. His guards fell asleep. His cellmate was transferred the night before. The cameras malfunctioned. His neck bone breaks in a weird way. That's not just suspicious. That's like every episode of Law & Order played backwards. Now, the DOJ's Inspector General released a 128-page report in 2023 saying Epstein's death was the result of negligence and misconduct, but found no evidence of foul play. Basically, they're saying it wasn't a conspiracy. It was...
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Whether you love true crime or comedy, celebrity interviews or news, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue. And guess what? Now you can call them on your auto insurance too, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. It works just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. Get your quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Competence. And like that might be worse. Because if the government can't keep a guy like Epstein alive under federal watch, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, I get it. The government can't even keep the DMV printer running, but come on. But now it's time for some of the tinfoil theories. So the first one is the silenced by power theory. This is the big one, that Epstein was murdered by someone with a lot to lose. He had files, photos, videos, names, and access. If he went to trial, things were going to come out. So people think someone decided he wasn't worth the risk. And I believe sorry, my brain is short-circuiting. I think from what I have read by other people, the person who they think did it rhymes with Schmillery Schmitten. But anyway, theory 2 is the body double theory. So this one's straight from Reddit's greatest hits. It says that the photos of Epstein's body don't match. The ears, the nose, even the jawline looks different. The theory goes that the real Epstein was swapped out and escaped. He's allegedly living somewhere in Argentina, sipping margaritas with Elvis and Tupac. Do I buy it? No. Do I kind of want to believe it? Absolutely. So theory 3 is the faked death and relocation. Kind of like what, we just talked about. But it's a little less wild than the body double one. This one claims that Epstein's death was staged with help from intelligence agencies. Some believe that he had ties to international spy networks like Mossad, the CIA, MI6, and that he had compromat on people all over the world. So this theory says that he was quietly extracted and relocated under a new identity because the information he had was too dangerous to expose. So basically, he didn't die. He just got promoted. You have been promoted. You are now an elite employee. Do you guys remember that video? I would quote that very often. It was like a vocal stim of mine. But anyway, his victims never got to face him, and the public never got the full answers, and every redacted document and malfunctioning camera just adds another layer of suspicion. So yeah, maybe Epstein really did kill himself, or maybe someone made really sure he didn't, but either way, the end result was the same. The system failed, and the conspiracy theories are not going away, because the truth still hasn't come out. Okay, so here's where the Epstein saga stops being like a one-man show and starts looking like a dark season of Succession, because somehow this random math teacher from Brooklyn managed to collect the world's most powerful people, like they were like rare Pokemon cards or something. He wasn't just networking, he was curating. He threw parties that made Davos look like a PTA meeting. And if you were rich, powerful, or famous in the 90s or early 2000s, chances are Jeffrey Epstein wanted your number in his little black book. Literally. He had a black book, the Epstein Black Book, full of contacts that included politicians, actors, scientists, royals, billionaires, and enough unknowns to make any conspiracy theorist start drawing red string on a corkboard. And that's where the problem starts. Because when his crimes hit the headlines, so did the guest list. And suddenly everyone was like, wait a second, why are all these people hanging out with him? So let's break down the social circle from hell, shall we? In the 90s, Epstein started popping up in political fundraising circles. He donated to both Democrats and Republicans, classic rich guy move, but his two most high-profile political connections were Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, which Donald Trump wasn't really like a political thing, I think, until later, obviously. He was just rich. Now, to be clear, and this is important, there's no evidence either man was directly involved in Epstein's crimes, but the association's enough. Raise eyebrows, okay? So Bill Clinton took multiple trips on Epstein's private jet, what people later dubbed the Lolita Express, which, by the way, sounds like the worst theme park ride in history. Clinton's team said that they were related to Clinton Foundation work and that Secret Service agents were always present. Trump, on the other hand, knew Epstein socially through Palm Beach. They attended the same parties, had mutual friends, and Trump once famously said, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. He's a terrific guy. He likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side," which did not age well. When Epstein was arrested in 2019, Trump distanced himself, saying that he hadn't spoken to Epstein in years and that he was not a fan, which could be true. Still, the internet did what the internet does, took photos, quotes, and flight logs, and built an entire galaxy of theories. And then there's Prince Andrew, the man, the myth, the sweating denier. So Epstein's friendship with Prince Andrew goes back decades. There are photos of the two walking together in Central Park, and of course the infamous photo of Andrew with Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's victims, who accused him of sexual abuse when she was 17. He always denied it, but the damage was done. Andrew tried to clear his name with that now legendary BBC interview where he claimed he couldn't have been sweating at the club that night because he had a medical condition that prevents sweating. Like, sir, please. If you've ever seen a man lie so hard, his PR team spontaneously combust. That was it. So he later settled a lawsuit with Giuffre for a reported $12 million. No admission of wrongdoing, just a big fat check. So yeah, that royal connection didn't exactly help the Epstein acted alone narrative. Epstein's New York townhouse wasn't just a party spot. He invited Nobel Prize winners, Harvard professors, tech billionaires, and scientists to dinner parties where he'd pontificate about genetics. Pontificate is like such a proper word. I haven't used it in a really long time. He also had a weird obsession with wanting to, and I quote, seed the human race with his DNA. And yes, he literally said that. He wanted to impregnate multiple women at his New Mexico ranch to improve the human species. So he donated millions to scientific institutions, MIT's Media Lab, Harvard, and others, which later got very awkward when those donations were exposed as from Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender. A lot of the universities eventually returned or reallocated the money, but at the time, they took it, and happily. There were also celebrities in the mix. Models, musicians, filmmakers, the kind of people who end up in the background of someone else's scandal. Some of them probably just met him at parties. Others, it seems, were closer. And then there's the infamous 50th birthday book. So Epstein apparently had a custom-made book filled with well wishes and photos for his 50th birthday in 2003, a sort of like high society yearbook. Names that allegedly appear in it include world leaders, billionaires, and celebrities, though again, not everyone in the book is accused of wrongdoing. But you can see why the internet lost its mind. When someone that rich, that connected, and that secretive gets exposed, everyone's like, how deep does this go? Epstein owned a private jet, which I said a couple times was dubbed the Lolita Express, which he used to shuttle guests to his private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Little St. James. The island itself has been described as both a private paradise and an absolute nightmare. It had a weird blue and white striped temple-like building with a gold dome that locals called the Music Pavilion, because nothing says I'm totally not hiding crimes like owning a private temple on an island with no neighbors. Victims testified that the island was one of several locations where abuse happened. There were staff, security, and flight manifests, many of which were later sealed, showing an ever-rotating door of guests. But again, and I have to say it for legal reasons, being on the plane or island doesn't automatically mean someone participated in crimes. But it does mean that they were close enough to the epicenter of one of the biggest abuse networks ever uncovered. And that's what freaks people out, because it shows just how easy it was for someone like Epstein to hide in plain sight, protected by proximity to power. So yeah, Jeffrey Epstein was basically the human embodiment of networking gone evil. He didn't just know powerful people, he collected them. He used wealth as armor, charm as bait, and connections as a shield. And whether you believe they were all complicit, clueless, or conveniently silent, the end result is the same. And that web of influence, it didn't die with.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What if comparing car insurance rates was as easy as putting on your favorite podcast? With Progressive, it is. Just visit the Progressive website to quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's direct rate, then their tool will provide options from other companies so you can compare. All you need to do is choose the rate and coverage you like. Quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Hit. All right, now we need to talk about the woman who somehow managed to make Jeffrey Epstein look slightly less creepy by comparison, which is saying something. And her name is Ghislaine Maxwell. So she was a British socialite, if that's even how you pronounce that word, but that's what she was. She's daughter of media mogul Robert Maxwell, and certified example of how money and privilege can rot your soul if you marinate in them long enough. She was born in France, raised in Oxford, and she grew up like rich. Like had a literal castle and meant royalty before kindergarten rich. Her dad, Robert, owned newspapers, yachts, and enough offshore accounts to make the IRS break out in hives. He also mysteriously fell off his yacht and drowned in 1991 under very suspicious circumstances, because apparently the Maxwell family just doesn't do normal plot lines. And after Daddy Dearest's death, I feel terrible for saying that, actually. That was mean of me to say. I take that back. After her dad died, Ghislaine fled to New York. She was grieving, broke by rich people standards, and determined to stay in the world of the wealthy. And then enter Jeffrey Epstein. So they meet in the early 90s, start dating, and become inseparable. Even after the romantic part fizzled out, she stayed in his orbit, managing his homes, staff, and according to prosecutors, his trafficking operation. She was his social connector, the one who opened doors to royalty, billionaires, and the academic elite. So she could charm anyone. And she used that charm in ways that, frankly, make my skin crawl. And I don't know why, but I literally just got this sudden urge to have Pizza Hut. But like, not the Pizza Hut of today, the Pizza Hut of tomorrow. Just kidding, the Pizza Hut of yesteryear. You know, when they had the salad bar and the red cups and the delicious pan pizza. Ugh. Apparently there's one in Virginia, and I need to take a ride to Virginia to go to the Pizza Hut that is set up identical to how it was back in the day, because that was when their pizza actually tasted really good. I should know, I worked there and I ate it a lot. But anyway, since I just went on a pizza rant, back to Jeffrey Epstein. So victims have testified that Ghislaine was the recruiter. She allegedly approached young women, often girls, under the guise of offering them jobs, internships, or mentorships. She'd bring them to Epstein's home, normalize the massages, and make the situation feel safe. Several survivors said that she participated in the abuse. And here's what's even worse. She wasn't some clueless sidekick. She knew. She arranged things. She managed Epstein's schedule like it was a twisted business operation. One witness even described her as the architect of the pyramid scheme. It's horrifying, it's calculated, and it's proof that evil doesn't always show up wearing a ski mask. Sometimes it shows up in designer heels and a British accent. After Epstein's death in 2019, everyone's like, okay, Ghislaine, where you at? Because she basically disappeared. No one saw her for a year. Then, July 2nd of 2020, federal agents track her down at a 156-acre property in New Hampshire called Tucked Away. Which, ma'am, if you're hiding from the FBI, maybe don't name your mansion Tucked Away, because that's the first place I'd look. Checked here, she's tucked away probably. I kill myself. But anyway, when agents stormed in, she reportedly tried to flee deeper into the house, which, same energy as me when someone knocks and I'm not wearing pants. But anyway, they arrest her, seize her computers, hard drives, and a ton of documents. And the charges were sex trafficking of minors, conspiracy, and perjury. It's basically you helped him do everything, but in legal form. So her trial began in late 2021, and for the first time, the public got a closer look at just how involved she really was. 4 women testified that Maxwell recruited, groomed, and in some cases, joined Epstein in the abuse. The details were awful: calculated grooming, fake job offers, expensive gifts, manipulation, and betrayal. One witness said Maxwell made her feel special and safe, then turned that trust against her. And that's just, that's not just predatory, that's, psychological. After a 3-week trial, a jury found her guilty on 5 counts, including sex trafficking of a minor. She was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison in June 2022. And you'd think that'd be the end of it, but no. This woman has layers. So originally, Maxwell was at FCI Tallahassee in Florida, which was medium security. Then in 2025, which this was actually recent, I think. Then recently in 2025, she was transferred quietly to FPC Bryan in Texas, which is a minimum security camp. She's reportedly teaching yoga and running a wellness group because, of course, she is. Nothing says healing energy like teaching downward dog after being convicted of child sex trafficking. But anyway, she's also appealing her conviction, claiming that she was a scapegoat, that Epstein was the real monster, and that she's the victim of media hysteria. So yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell, the woman who once partied with billionaires and wore couture, now spends her days teaching mindfulness and pretending she didn't ruin lives. And somehow she still insists that she's innocent, which technically, legally speaking, she is innocent until proven guilty. But let's be real, without her, Epstein couldn't have built the empire that he did. She was the key that opened every locked door. And when she walked through them, she didn't just enable a predator, She became one. Now, what I'm about to talk about next is the granddaddy of all internet conspiracies, the theory that refuses to die. Ironically, and the part of the episode where we're all going to put on matching tinfoil hats. Okay, so let's talk about it. Because ever since Jeffrey Epstein's extremely convenient suicide, there has been one question echoing through Reddit threads, YouTube rabbit holes, and Thanksgiving dinners everywhere. Is he actually dead? And normally, I would be the first to say, no way, that's wild. But in this case, I don't know. The details are so sketchy that if someone told me Epstein was living under an alias in Paraguay, teaching math to flamingos, I'd honestly be like, yeah, that sounds about right. Now, I mentioned like these theories earlier, but we're going to go like into detail a little bit just to like explain them. Okay, let's start with the OG theory, the one that broke the internet. Okay, right after Epstein's death, media outlets released photos of his body being wheeled into the hospital. And within hours, the internet forensic experts, aka bored people with Wi-Fi, zoomed in on his face like, hold up, that's not him. People swore the ears, the jawline, and even the nose didn't match. That the skin tone looked different, the angle of the ear cartilage. Yes, the ear cartilage was off. Which, okay, who knew so many people were secretly ear experts? The theory goes that Epstein's body was swapped with a double, possibly with help from powerful friends or intelligence agencies, and that the real Epstein was smuggled out to somewhere remote. South America, the Middle East, Antarctica, pick your poison, probably Saudi Arabia with his fake passport. And it sounds wild until you remember that this was a guy who had fake passports and offshore accounts and literal cameras hidden in his homes. If anyone could pull off an escape from a federal facility, it would probably be this guy. The next one is the intelligence asset theory. Theory 2, that we talked about earlier. Some researchers and journalists have suggested he was an intelligence asset, that he gathered blackmail material on politicians and elites through his trafficking network, then used that information as his leverage. This theory connects his connections. Try saying that 3 times fast. Which, like I mentioned earlier, was to Mossad, the CIA, and MI6. And it says that when he got arrested in 2019, he became too much of a liability, so an exit plan was executed. And he didn't die, he was extracted. Now, is there proof of that? Not really. But the thing that keeps this theory alive is how believable it sounds when you look at the network of people he knew and how many investigations have gone silent since his death. Guys, I stopped to take a break because this was like a lot of talking, and I'm freshly high now and I forget everything that I just talked about. So now I gotta go back and listen to like, I don't know, the last 10 minutes. And just so you know, because like I'm telling you, I'm at like 1 hour and 10 minutes already, and I haven't edited anything out. Like all my breaths, there's probably like 20 minutes there. So I'm curious as to how long this episode was going to be. So now that I got that thought out of my brain, back to what I was talking about. Okay, so we were talking about some theory or other something. So, and I did talk about these earlier, right? Like I mentioned these earlier. I guess I'll mention them again. I don't know. I guess it'll make sense at the end. But anyway, so the hidden transfer theory. So this one's like the body double idea's less glamorous cousin. It claims that Epstein did die publicly, or appeared to, but was secretly transferred somewhere else under a new identity. Some say he's living under witness protection in exchange for information. Others say he is in an undisclosed government facility. My personal favorite version is that he's trapped in the Bermuda Triangle with Bigfoot and the cast of Firefly. There's actually a YouTube video. If I can find it, I will link it in like the show notes. But there's a YouTube video of some guy who like had a drone or something and was flying it around Epstein Island and saw what looks exactly like Epstein, literally standing by like an unmarked SUV or like a black SUV, like all blacked out and stuff. I say unmarked because usually cops drive them. But anyway, he was standing by there smoking a cigarette. And I know he has a brother, but this did not look like his brother. So if I can find it, I will link it in the show notes and you can see it for yourself. But the last I heard, they did take it down, but I'm going to look again. And the next one is bureaucratic incompetence. And it's basically that he's dead and the entire thing was just the byproduct of staggering government failure. 2 guards asleep, 3 cameras broken, a suicide watch revoked too soon is the perfect storm of human error and systemic rot. So instead of a high stakes cover up, it might just be the same reason everything else collapses. No one did their job. And that's almost more terrifying, because if the system can fail like this spectacularly with like the world watching, what happens when no one's paying attention? So what do the records actually say? I don't know why I said that like that. But also when I just did that laugh, the person who popped into my head was that character from Billy Madison, Eric, the one he laughs like a weasel and he's like, hey, probably because I made that face. But anyway, the Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General investigated for 4 years and concluded Epstein did die by suicide. No evidence of outside involvement, no mystery visitor, no secret exit route. They blamed negligence, misconduct, and poor management, and that's the official record. But you want to know what else they found? The jail's conditions were so bad that even the people investigating them were like, yeah, we see how this happened. There were broken locks, broken lights, staff shortages, outdated cameras, basically the federal version of a haunted McDonald's. So whether it was like conspiracy or chaos, it ended the same way, with the truth buried under incompetence and unanswered questions. But even after his death, even after Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction, there's still so much we don't know. Because the deeper you dig, the more you find this tangled mess of sealed files, redacted names, and locked evidence that seems to vanish whenever someone tries to make it public. It's like the universe is like, here's your jigsaw puzzle, and then gives it to you without like any corner pieces. Now, after Epstein's first arrest back in 2005, the Palm Beach police gathered like mountains of evidence, videos, photos, statements, flight logs, but like much of it never saw the light of day. Then came the 2008 non-prosecution agreement, and like part of that federal investigation were sealed indefinitely. And then the victims actually did find out about that like 10 years later. And I know I talked about this earlier, but I feel like I need to tell you again. And then the Miami Herald in 2018, when they ran that story about it, like they didn't just expose Epstein, they exposed the entire system that protected him. And then once people realized there were sealed records, and hundreds of them, the question became like, what's in them? Now, before Epstein's 2019 arrest, one of his victims, Virginia Giuffre, who I mentioned earlier, filed a civil lawsuit against Ghislaine Maxwell for defamation. And that case settled in 2017, but the court filings contained tons of evidence about Epstein's network, including depositions, emails, and flight logs. In 2019, after Epstein's death, news outlets pushed to unseal those records, and the court started releasing them in batches. Like each drop was like a bomb going off online. There were names, emails, photos, weird connections. Every time something was unsealed, people went like full FBI. Okay, because I probably would do the same. Some of those releases are still redacted. So large chunks are blacked out. So like you'll get pages that literally just say person 23 redacted or meeting with redacted regarding potential minor. Like that's not transparency, my guy. That's a tease. And then earlier I mentioned the Epstein client list. People swear there's this secret document naming all the powerful people who were involved in his crimes. And while there are flight logs, visitor records, and witness statements, no confirmed official client list has ever been released. But between 2020 and 2023, multiple lawsuits against Epstein's estate revealed financial settlements paid to victims. Some documents included references to third-party beneficiaries, which is legal speak for people whose names you're not allowed to say out loud. The theory is that there's a list, not necessarily of customers, but of enablers, financiers, recruiters, and protectors sitting in some vault while the rest of us are over here like, cool, okay, glad justice stopped at page 3. But also, here's a fun fact that will make your blood boil. The FBI collected over 20 terabytes, which that's large. That's like very, very large, okay, of digital evidence from Epstein's homes, including hard drives, surveillance footage, and digital correspondence. To put 20 terabytes in perspective, that's like if you recorded your entire life in 4K video twice. And yet most of it hasn't been released. We've seen like photos, transcripts, some inventory logs, but the actual footage, the supposed videos Epstein allegedly kept for his friends, quote, and guest, quote again, have never been made public. And the official reason is that they are protecting the integrity of ongoing investigations, which, I mean, they say that a lot, and I get it. You want to keep everything, close to the vest, as they say, so that like if he's dead or dead, so he won't go to trial. But if he were alive, then you would want to make sure that like nothing gets out so that, there's no chances of like, I don't know, a mistrial or some shit, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But the unofficial reason is that nobody knows why it's not coming out. It feels like the ongoing investigations are happening in like an alternate timeline because nothing new has surfaced in years. And the real reason for them not being released is probably because the entire freaking country, if not the world, would lose their shit because of all the people that are probably involved. People that like, you trust with, I don't know, like probably like very powerful people and famous people for sure. Creeps, nasty creeps. But anyway, then there's the money trail, which is its own crime thriller. So when Epstein died, his estate was valued at over $577 million. There were properties in New York, Florida, Paris, and the Virgin Islands, and through a series of shady trust and shell companies, large sums were shuffled between accounts right before and right after his death. The Virgin Islands Attorney General later alleged that Epstein's network of companies was designed to hide assets and pay off accomplices. So in 2023, JP Morgan Chase paid $290 million to settle a lawsuit accusing the bank of enabling Epstein's trafficking operation by ignoring red flags, which, yeah, if your bank's motto is like, what red flags? Maybe get a new bank. Dutch Bank, I think that's, so it's spelled Deutsche. Dush. Anyway, that word, bank, which was another Epstein lender, also paid $75 million to settle similar claims. So yeah, the paper trail is like a bonfire now. And every time a new batch of court records is unsealed, new questions popped up, like who else knew? How many people were involved? Where is all the digital evidence? Why were some of the most powerful men in the world constantly at Epstein's homes, in his jet, or at his quote unquote parties? And maybe the biggest one, why is the public still waiting for answers while the victims are still fighting for recognition? Because here's the truth. Epstein's death didn't kill the story. It froze it. It locked everything in bureaucratic purgatory, while the rest of us are left staring at redacted documents like, yes, I love that my tax dollars paid for this black square. So, no matter what you believe, whether Epstein was a puppet, a handler, or just a monster who gamed the system, one thing's for sure. We still don't know the whole story, and maybe we never will, because the people holding the keys to those files, they're probably the same people those files might expose. And if that doesn't scream, it's probably nothing, I don't know what does. But I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here, which I never do, but I am for a second, okay? I'll be nice about it. So like when I started digging into Epstein's story, like for this episode, I was like, okay, cool. This is like one of those true crime mega cases that I probably should have done on a Tuesday, but I was like, nah, it's too long of an episode, so I'll do it on a Friday. But like the more I read, the more I realized, like, it's not just just like about him. It's like also about systems and the power that money has to bend rules, to erase names, and to buy silence, and how people who could have stopped all of this didn't. And how the ones who paid the price were the ones who have no power at all. And it's wild and infuriating and like still full of question marks. And also like how many of these girls like screamed into the void for years before someone finally listened? And how many people watched this man parade around like the elite and thought, oh, well, not my problem. And like, it's the same story on repeat. Powerful men, silent systems, and victims who like have to become their own heroes or just like scream until finally someone listens. But yeah, like I make jokes and spiral into chaos and stuff like that. But I also know that sometimes the stuff that no one wants to talk about is exactly where the truth lives. Now, this case will never have like a clean ending because Epstein's like gone or quote, gone. And like Maxwell's behind bars teaching yoga, pretending she's at like a wellness retreat. And the files The ones that could like really tell the story are still collecting dust somewhere in a government vault that probably has a Starbucks inside of it. But until they're opened, like, people will probably keep asking the same questions, as they should. Because like, when things stop making sense and stories don't line up, and when cameras malfunction and guards fall asleep, like, that's when you start to wonder if justice ever had a chance in the first place. But that's it for this week's episode of Don't Quote Me. It's probably nothing. If you made it this far, congratulations. You are now probably on at least 3 watch lists. I'll see you next time for another episode that will probably have you side-eyeing everything, including your toaster. Huge shout out to everyone listening on Nighthawk Radio, and to everyone streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever mysterious app your phone auto-downloaded. Thank you. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, review, sacrifice a billionaire to the moon gods. You know, whatever helps the algorithm. This week's song of the week is Chelsea by Arcade Beach. Go stream it wherever you listen to your music. It's amazing, and I love it, and I can't wait to listen to more of their music. They have such like a fun vibe, you know? It's like so good. It makes me do this weird hand motion when I dance. But anyway, stay weird, stay curious, go be kind to someone for no reason, and go be amazing.
Chelsea sits in a chair by the window with the rain pouring
Hear that? That's your gut. Now, would you really trust that same gut to make important decisions for your business? Well, you shouldn't. That's what SurveyMonkey is for. SurveyMonkey can help give you insight from real people that you need to make those big decisions with confidence. And AI from SurveyMonkey makes that faster and easier than ever before. It allows you to build a survey in seconds with just a simple prompt. You can even do it right from your phone. Advanced analysis tools are also powered by AI and are there when the responses pour in to help you dig deep, find patterns, and surface trends quickly. So give SurveyMonkey a try and give your gut a break. Shh. Try it for yourself at surveymonkey.com/human-AI.